Hi friends, welcome back to my lockdown diaries. This is Shashwat here. These diaries are repositories of my thoughts and experiences as we live through these lockdown days. So this is the yet another Monday. Come to realize of it, time suddenly when I'm doing these lockdown diaries, I realize that time is rushing so fast. Suddenly I do some of these diaries and then it's a Friday. So unlike other people who have been quarantined, strictly quarantined at home, unless and until you have offices and things to adhere to, you tend to lose a whole feeling of time. How days pass, what are days? They all look and feel the same. Suddenly you realize a Monday is not much different from Tuesday if you have to follow the same routine everywhere. And that's mostly the case for ladies right now, because they are just following the same set of routine, getting up in the morning and finishing up in the night. So for them it's just bunch of activities. So for them that's how they tend to lose the whole significance of days. So I have also, for me, these lockdown diaries are a good reminder of when my these are the weekdays that I have got, and then I have a little break, and then weekend, and then I'm back again to my work. So interestingly, this is a Monday, and typically we have these Monday morning blues. So over the past 2 days, I've been logging onto news, checking different statistics and all these things. So forgive me if my diary today is a little bit grimmer than usual, because the scenario right now, as we see in India, is actually on the grimmer side. So if you see the numbers, we have been passing those milestones. Almost it's become a habit now. Almost every day we have a record number of cases being added, record number of deaths. Then this whole discussion goes along. What is the fatality rate, what is the mortality rate, how does it compare to other countries, and then we keep doing all these comparisons. So in India right now the cases have gone past 1,38,000, 4,000 deaths, and you have the whole thing exploding in a manner that we had dreaded all this while. When this whole, I remember when this whole lockdown diary had started, there was a bit of optimism in all of us, how we can buck this trend and how we can overcome this pandemic. But now we are seeing the real impact of it. As we enter this new phase, lockdown 4.0 as they are calling, and when the economy is relaxing, when you have the flights have started yesterday, there are a whole lot of things that are happening all across. The flights have started today, in fact. There was a lot of confusion about it. Some states put their foot down that they wouldn't allow flights to land. You have factories opening up, offices opening up, interstate travel is opening up in certain levels. So you have all this movement coming back, businesses are opening up. The best example is on Amazon right now. All those things which were not available earlier are available now. So that gives you an indication of how things are evolving. It would always give you a sense of deja vu, because you'll feel that things are pretty normal now, right? So I remember this Saturday I had stepped out of home for some purchases, and when I went out, I was surprised by the nonchalance of people. It was absolutely business as usual. People were going about their everyday life, buying things and everything. Yes, there was fear amongst them. All those masks and everything are a grim indicator of how things stand. But beyond that, the crowds were there. There was not much policing that was there almost everywhere. Earlier when I used to step out, I used to see the presence of administration, the police and all would be strictly there enforcing norms. But now you see all that thing missing, and kind of gives you a feeling of things are coming back to normal. But if you look at the numbers, on the other hand, if you look at the the Arogya Setu app for that matter, the cases are coming closer and closer to your home. So the thing that I wanted to discuss is, when we talk about India, when we talk about the number of COVID cases in India and the number of deaths in India, it doesn't really give us the complete picture. The reason is, India is a very big country, right? huge geographical spread, huge 1.3 billion people. So you tend to get, okay, these are just 1 lakh on a base of 1.3 billion is not really that much. Mortality is also fairly low when you compare to other countries. But on the contrary, if you look at these cases and you dig down into these numbers, you will find a picture emerging, a sense of picture emerging. The pandemic is not really active in India in the manner that we get a sense of. It's actually active in just certain places. And which are those places? The state of Maharashtra is the worst stricken in this whole pandemic. You have almost 50,000 cases we have passed. So 50,000 out of the 1.3 lakh cases. So that's the base of Maharashtra. And out of that 50,000, almost 30,000 of those cases are just there in the city of Mumbai, Mumbai metropolitan region, that would be Mumbai Thana and the near abouts. So actually, if you see the number of cases growing, if you see the number of deaths growing, it's actually happening in these places. Mumbai, unfortunately, has become the capital of coronavirus epidemic in India. And it's not only in India. If you see the numbers for a city comparable of the same population, 1.2 million, and that kind of scale, 12 million, sorry, the only city that's above Mumbai right now is Moscow, with the maximum number of cases. And even in Moscow, you are seeing these patterns of the cases coming down, while in Mumbai the cases are increasing day by day. And we are suffering in the worst possible manner that is there. We see no respite coming in. There's no hope, because the numbers that we have, the projections that have been made, the models that have been there, the numbers are only gonna explode from this point of view, unless and until there's some sort of a miracle happening. Beyond that, there has been little that has been done, and on top of it, you're getting the sense that things are coming to normal. So the question that we need to really address right now here is, who is responsible for this mess, and what is that needs to be done? Unfortunately, for the state of Maharashtra and Mumbai, we have been pretty unlucky for many years of the independence, because what used to typically happen was there would be Congress governments in the center, there would be Congress government here, and they would not really bother about. And yet, in this whole political seesawing, the city of Mumbai had always suffered. So if you see the infrastructure also, while we are the financial capital of India, while we are the most modern city, we are the most modern metropolis and all these things, we were one of the first cities settled by the Britishers and everything. We were urban center much ahead of its time. Despite the fact, Mumbai has suffered in many ways. In many infrastructure projects we have been laid, metro connection is still happening. Even after so many years of independence, we're still getting those lines together. Unlike Delhi, where it was done in such a jiffy, Mumbai it has been struggling. There have been every monsoon we suffer the same kind of issues that crop up again, the potholes, the flooding and everything. There has been little or negligent urban planning. There has been no modeling done in where the populations live and how they kind of move to work and everything. So we have seen that thing happening in Mumbai through all these years, and we are paying for those things right now. We never paid attention to our infrastructure. We never paid attention to all these healthcare facilities. It was always going the way it was, so you had the private and the public infrastructure. The public infrastructure was in dumps, and we are seeing those impacts right now. We are seeing cases where in morgues the dead bodies are just piling up, and there's been no attention paid. They're just disposing of the bodies without any attention to reaching out to the families. Families are struggling to connect with their people. I have personally known cases of people running from one hospital to another to get their test done, they suspecting coronavirus kind of a thing. And right now they're struggling from a private thing. Private hospitals are denying it. The government hospitals are completely overwhelmed right now, and you're seeing a complete breakdown of healthcare facilities in Mumbai. The sad part is that was something which we had already assumed in all these, even before this lockdown had started, even before when the pandemic was starting, we already knew this was going to happen. And yet this is the scenario that we are in today. At the start of May, the number of cases in Mumbai were around 7,000, and now we have not even come to the end of the month, and the number of cases is more than tripled. So triple. That's the kind of scenarios that we are seeing. And the worst thing is, this whole political clash between two parties. It's basically the Maha Aghadi, which is your Shiv Sena, led by Shiv Sena, NCP and Congress, and then you have the BJP out there. So what is happening? The government of Shiv Sena and the Maha Aghadi has been woefully short in its response. They had got 2 months to prepare for this crisis. They had got all this time to ramp up their healthcare facilities. They had all this time to ramp up their response to this action. But it has been completely found lacking. And on top of that, the central government led by BJP has cast a Nelson's eye on us. They're just very, they are waiting for this thing to collapse to be able to blame it on the Shiv Sena or the party. So right now we have a strange scenario here where the government in the center is almost, it seems that they are wishing for the things to go worse, and the government in control is just unable to deal with this crisis. If you see a couple of weeks back, Gujarat was seeing a spurt of these numbers and COVID, the patients out there, it was spreading there. So the Home Minister there sent an expert team headed by the head of AIMS to find a solution and to control this thing. Nothing of this sort has been done. I fail to understand why, when we knew any normal Mumbaikar would know that where these cluster of cases would happen. We always knew that Dharavi would be the most vulnerable region. Mumbra in Thane would be a most vulnerable region. You have these pockets, densely populated slum areas, which would be always vulnerable for these epidemics, and yet almost nothing was done. And we are paying a price for this. We could argue till the end of days, who's to blame and how successive governments have really created a scenario. But the fact of the matter is, right now, is us citizens that are facing the trouble. We are living a very scared existence right now. We are scared of venturing out. We are scared of sending our kids to school. We are scared of buying stuff, and that is the reality, and you see no end to it. So my problem happens is, when they say that, oh, coronavirus epidemic is spreading in India, it's not in India. It's just a city and a state that are unable to control it. And the sad part is, it's not only Mumbai is not your simple city. It's the financial capital of the country. It has immense resources, economic resources at its disposal. The BMC, which is the municipal corporation, is one of the richest in the world. The budget it has is bigger than most of the GDPs of countries. And if that is not able to deal with a scenario like that, if that is not able to increase the healthcare facilities, if they are not able to arrange ventilators and systemize the whole process of patients finding a bed. Right now, finding a bed is almost like getting an admission post your 10th standard in all these colleges. You are running from one place to another, just trying to get things done, which is crazy. And so in this scenario, it almost beggars a question: what needs to be done? I have a feeling somewhere that when this whole crisis evolves, there will be some stringent response that we would need. Something like, say, a martial law. We would need some strong measures to be undertaken to break this, break the spread of this epidemic. And being a financial capital, my own questions would be very simple. My own questions, I have just two simple questions which any finance guy would understand. The question that is there: who is responsible for this mess, and whose head should be rolling right now? If Mumbai was a company, for the crisis to have evolved like this, there would be heads rolling right now, and that is what we should be. We need a change of guard. I'm not saying the government out here. I'm not talking about changing government, because that is another frivolous exercise, and we've seen that happen. Changing government, changing leaders doesn't really change much, except in these trying times. We need someone who's efficient and who's able to deal with it, and we need some measures where this political brickmanship gets overdone with. My only humble request to all the leaders that be, please help my city, please save this city. It's not about winning brownie points in the elections. You can score them at much later stages. It's more important right now to save lives and save people. So in that is the only thing that that came to my mind today. As I said, over the past 2 days, it has been the kind of scenario that has been evolving. It makes you a bit sad, and unfortunately, since you are right in the middle of these things, it tends to impact you in a manner that you scarcely can think about. So that is all that I have on this day. On a lighter note, today is also happy Eid to all my friends and everything. Eid is also a festival that is much celebrated in Mumbai in different manners, right? So in normal years, you would have a Salman Khan release which would be there, and you would have all these people bustling all across the city buying stuff and all this thing. For us, it would be another factor. It being a Monday, it would have been a longer weekend, and you would plan your outings around it. So there's this hope that there's some sort of normalcy returns, and we are able to lead our lives again. On that hope and prayers to the powers that be, or to the gods that are, I would like to take your leave today. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay inside, and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye-bye.